In this segment, I'm going to talk about kind of metal alchemy a little, but we're going to go into how metal is the sixth element and basically how you have. It's kind of like we're going to talk about diet, but we're going to talk about how diet alone can heal these three ailments: mental illness, which obvious is the obvious ailment. Then two other ailments that you may not perceive as such, but they definitely are. Um, the second one is basically the inability to remember your past lives. Second ailment. And the third ailment is premature aging below 120 years. So let's get to it. A lot of healers definitely of the notion that all you have to do is eat correctly and then everything is magically set. How, when you eat right, you know, um, you be healthier, which is true. Drink more water, um, get the right sleep, you'll be healthier. You could be impervious to most diseases. And I would have to say, honestly, outside the three I just mentioned, I can't say they're wrong about that. So they're not. The healers themselves are not wrong. But this is the age where I guess all secrets are revealed, or they will be to those who want it. And in a sense, it's kind of like we all have to upgrade our information. So what happens in alchemic traditions? You always have people who spoke about the fact that you know people we trying to get some philosopher's stone to live forever and yada yada yada, right? The interesting thing about this is that alchemists knew a long time ago that people are not supposed to be living to be 120 years old. We're supposed to be, well, we're not even living to 120, but we're supposed to live more than that. Most people are not even living to be 90, 100 years old. Part of the reason why this is actually because of extraterrestrial intervention. It's funny. Most people think that we got more advanced because of extraterrestrial intervention, but we actually got corrupted, believe it or not. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. I probably wouldn't do that video on this channel. That might be in my more CyrusKing.com where I talk about stuff like that. But because let's say, for instance, you don't even have to go by alien intervention. You could look at alien intervention as a metaphor for being more materialism coming into our spirituality. So at one time when everybody used to want to turn their bodies into macabres, we introduced the spaceship. At one time when we looked at the higher beings as, I guess, angels, we look at them now as aliens. But if you look, angels tend to be more multidimensional, less ship, so it's still kind of your mind getting used to different frequencies. Whereas spaceships or aliens, they don't say the aliens live in another dimension for the most part. They say they live on another planet. They don't talk about macabres. They talk about aliens on ships. So forget about whether you believe in angels or aliens. Look at the constructs. The constructs is a more materialistic construct came into our, education, education or our thought process, and it even kind of did it with even the way we look at diet. Because what happens is that in alchemy, for instance, I always mention alchemy a lot. Um, Obviously, that's that's the biggest influence on my teachings. For the most part, when you look at alchemy, there were seven metals that they use as alchemists. They use more than that, but seven metals alchemists are more like the seven chakras in certain Indian philosophies, or the seven archangels of Hebrew philosophies, or seven African powers of the African systems. Basically, it goes kind of like those are the seven powers. So when you look at the metals are just a physical representation of those powers. So when I say lead, I'm talking about lead. Astrologically, it could be talking about Saturn if you're into astrology, but then of course we talk about the energy of what lead represents. So seven metals are connected to the seven chakras, right? Those chakras are connected to different parts of your body as well. So the first chakra, the root chakra, will be lead in alchemy traditions. That'll be more connected to the spleen, right? The interesting thing about that is that, so like when you say first the root chakra, I'm also talking about the spleen. And I'm also talking about the skeletal structure because the skeletal structure runs on that. So what happens is when you have kind of like like when your first chakra is not functioning right, your skeleton or your bone structure could get affected as well as your spleen. So when you say your first chakra is closed or not functioning right, it's also going to probably affect your skeleton or your bone structure and your spleen. So this is how alchemists would basically heal people because when you know that which chakra is closed, so like for instance, the sacral chakra, the second chakra, that'll be more the kidneys and the blood. And let's just focus on the kidneys. There'll be a problem with not the kidneys. I'm sorry. Let's say the blood for now. Kidneys too, but let's just focus on the blood. So a lot of emotional issues tend to affect the second chakra. This is why sometimes some people gain weight. Some people gain weight because that's your body's natural response. Because when you get emotional, when your emotions are disrupted or blocked, your body sometimes gain mass because that's how your body's way of trying to protect itself. It's almost like somebody who lifts weights trying to get more muscle. So that's why a lot of times people who are obese, overweight have a lot of mental issues that they don't want to address. So sometimes that's why when they actually lose weight, they still have those mental issues or those mental blockages, I should say, not issues, not mental issues, but mental blockages. And this is the reason why most of the time the creators of medicine were alchemists. Alchemists allowed certain tools or certain secrets to be given. So that was the creators of herbology, medicine, even a lot of alternative medical systems. What happened is that they were given a piece of the knowledge. So most of the time, when somebody just talks about the second chakra being blocked, they don't realize they could affect your blood and kidneys as well. So a lot of issues in your blood and kidneys are from a second chakra being messed up. Now the good thing about it is that a lot of plants fall under this as well. So when we say lead, lead is Saturn, first chakra, root chakra. When we say tin, which is the second one, that's sacral, right? That's your second chakra. That's connected to the planet Jupiter. Plants also fall under that. So you have plants that are Saturn plants, you have plants that are Jupiter plants. So as a herbalist, under the alchemist banner, disruptions of the first chakra will be more what Saturn plants operate. Disruptions of the second chakra will be more what tin plants operate or deal with. Disruptions of the third chakra, which is the solar plex, fall under Mars. Mars also affects your liver, your immune system, and your muscles. So when your third chakra is blocked, even your stomach also as well. So your stomach, your muscles, your liver could potentially be disrupted. So it's not just your third chakra; those are the organs that the alchemist would know automatically. So that would be under the domain of Mars plants. That's why you see stuff like cayenne pepper, garlic, ginger, or Mars plants all help with digestion as well as increasing the fire circulation of blood in your body. Because a lot of ways blood sometimes is made up of water, but it also has elements of fire in it as well. So in a lot of different ways, sometimes that's how an alchemist will be diagnosing you. So Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn all have abundant plants in the plant kingdom. So you don't need to actually work with the metals for those things to do what I'm saying. Even though as an alchemist, you can learn to use. You gotta be careful how you're doing it. I wouldn't advise anybody to do it, but you could, like, for instance, make oil based on iron that you melt, and you melt by certain instructions, alchemic procedures, and you would actually use iron, oil of iron, to heal like your muscles that are sore. Sometimes they could even consume it. Again, I wouldn't advise it, but they can use metals for those, the iron metal for those, just like you could use the iron tin for blood circulation problems. You usually make it into oil instead of consuming it. What happens is that once you go up to the fourth chakra, copper, a lot of copper plants as well, right? Copper plants are in abundance. So what I'm basically telling you, the first four chakras and the organs related to them, like the fourth chakra kind of related to your heart, also related to your skin. So in a sense, what happens, third chakra related to your liver, also related to your muscles and your stomach. Those four chakras and their corresponding organs, you can just use plants, and which is diet, and you can fix that. That's going to cover most illnesses of the body. Now, if you notice why they say most mental illnesses are hard for people to actually diagnose or to even fix, because mental illnesses are more get into your brain and your central nervous system and can correspond even to spirituality. So like your central nervous system that's visible, like your brain that's visible, but it's also going into a lot of parts of your body that are basically not seen by the eye. Once you start getting into mental issues, it kind of has a direct correspondence to spiritual issues as well. That's the reason why most alternative doctors can't really heal mental issues just like physical doctors can. They'll probably have you on medication forever. Because as a healer, being able to heal mental issues or mental problems is considered, I mean, people don't look at it like that because it's not glamorous, but for healers, they consider that much harder than healing even so-called incurable diseases that many healers have cured today. But if you start talking about mental diseases, you're gonna have a lot less of that. You might get people who they might give you some medicines that you'll be on treatment for a long time, but they won't completely heal you because mental illness is considered much harder. Now, once you start to get to the fifth chakra, sixth chakra, and seventh chakra, the crown, you get into Mercury, silver, and gold. the three most powerful metals in alchemy. Well, and what happens is from that perspective is mercury and silver have a few plants that have them in them, not in big concentration. So once you get into mercury, silver, and gold is when the metal starts to come in. Hence, that's why some people try to say that the gold was just symbolic in alchemy, but nah, the gold, silver, and mercury is supreme medicines. Problem with mercury is very dangerous. I will not advise anybody to handle mercury without training. I don't even use mercury myself. If you know how to use it, it can be very powerful medicine. But mercury is highly, highly, highly poisonous. It's one of those things that I mean, a little tip of mercury could kill you. So you gotta know how to cook it, and the Indian cigars have mastered that. Um, but for the most part, mercury is something that you have to know how to handle. Now, colloidal silver is popular. People know it as as a good. It kills bacteria, and it's funny because the further up you go, the more the metals can have the qualities of the other metals. Meaning, for the most part, mercury can do most of what the other four chakras can do. So as you go up, it keeps building up on itself. So silver is kind of connected to the third eye, which in a sense contains a lot of your past life memories. So not just taking silver the way some people make colloidal silver, but in alchemy you have something called philosopher silver, or a silver charged by. It's kind of like a special recipe that alchemists make with silver. The oil of that or consuming that helps you pass life memories. So in a sense, going from incarnation to incarnation, not remembering, is part of a disease. The reason why they say as alchemists the sixth element is metals is because the sixth element has to be introduced to you. But the way we currently use metals today is very technology Mars based, too much fire. Most metals, if you don't know what you're doing from the alchemic procedures or principles, will actually drain your energy more than give you energy. So it's not as simple as saying, let me just start get some gold and silver and work with that. No, no, it's not about that because you actually have to prepare the gold and silver by alchemic recipe, which is the harder part because you got to learn from a real alchemist. What I'm trying to explain to people is we have to start to upgrade the way we perceive things because in the end of the day, what happens is that most people are not even going on four elements anymore. There's four physical elements that people see: fire, water, wind, and earth. The fifth is spirit. The sixth is metals. The five and six elements is not even in most people's radars. Most people, even the four elements, even connecting the four elements, you have to be kind of connected to nature. How many people consider connected to nature? Not many. That's the reason why we're suffering as a human race. The beautiful thing about alchemy is it was created to upgrade your DNA. Upgrading the DNA was actually adding those two principles to you, increasing them in your body. And what happens is that's when you can live a little longer, you live a little healthier. Even I'm not gonna get into this video, but even things like learning in high speeds, learning like a genius, learning like a genius, learning like the people who you think are gods. Part of that was actually being able to have your brain and central nervous system working perfectly or better or improving the way they work, which would be introducing the fifth and sixth element to your system. Plants alone can't do that, but the problem is you have to go through plants. Most people today don't even use plants or not even healers. See, this is the whole reason of creating the channel was because as a healer, see the regular person can look at this video and just pay attention to gold, silver, mercury. They don't realize gold, silver, mercury comes at the end of the journey. And I'm not gonna say the end of the journey, the end of a certain journey, because after that journey you're gonna go through another door. Gold, silver, mercury come at that point. But you gotta go through plants to go to the first four chakras. And most people don't really know that. Plants are extremely important as healing and as herbs, that whether you use them for herbs, whether you use them for magic, it's essential. Most people don't know that. What I'm giving this information to tell you is the pond is a lot bigger than you think. So anything that your mind thinks of can come true, but at the same time, you need the materials to do it. That's the difference. That's what alchemy is about. Alchemy sometimes is about taking materials that are in your face and teaching you the right sequence for how they could change your life. So I hope I was able to help. Till next time, peace.